Nintendo is trying to destroy Palworld because the developer of Palworld, Pocket Pair, dared to innovate and create something new off of some existing ideas in the game industry. And if Nintendo's not the one doing it, clearly that's not allowed. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Palworld has posted an update on X today that is a very long statement we're going to go through in this video. But what I took out of it is Nintendo really is the bad guy in all of this because they are trying to stifle innovation and claim all the way to the bank that it's copyrights. That's what we care about because it's not someone else stealing our lunch and making a game better that we could ever do. No. It's we need to protect our IPs. Even though Palworld isn't stealing Pokemon, they made their own game and they made it better. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how Pocket Pair's Palworld is getting completely kneecapped. Nintendo's legal warpath plows on. And I mean, at this point, Nintendo seems more focused on litigation than video games. But I guess such is life when you get as big as Nintendo does and everyone's waiting on their next system. Nintendo couldn't be bothered to make the updates to Pokemon that people have been clamoring for decades, and when someone else goes and does it themselves, they get sued. Not just on copyright infringement, mind you, but on innovation itself. We have some movement on the lawsuit against developer Pocket Pair and their game Palworld that makes it abundantly clear to everyone. This lawsuit isn't about protecting Pikachu's precious image. It's about crushing any competition whatsoever that dares play in the same sandbox as Nintendo, because we can't be having that. Palworld on X said regarding the lawsuit, changes to Palworld and the future. And they started off kindly enough stating, "We would like to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the continued support of our fans over the past few months. We apologize for not being able to share as much information as we would like, but we trust our fans understand how difficult it is to be fully transparent while litigation is ongoing." And yep, I know something about that personally myself, so I do appreciate Palworld doing their best here to let people know everything they're allowed to know without going too far. Currently, we remain involved in prolonged legal proceedings regarding alleged patent infringement. We continue to dispute these claims and assert the invalidity of the patents in question. However, we have had to make certain compromises in order to avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld. So these changes that they're about to go into here are already updated and impacting the game as we speak. On November 30th, 2024, we released patch version 0.3.11 for Palworld. This patch removed the ability to summon pals by throwing pal spheres and instead changed it to static summon next to a player, which hearing that, it's like, come on. So now Nintendo is trying to copyright throwing a ball in a game? Do you understand the problem that comes from this? Because now when we start litigating and copywriting trademark stuff like, oh, you can't throw a ball in a game, how that's going to turn into a legal minefield when it comes to trying to create anything in the video game industry. Several other game mechanics were also changed with this patch. As many have speculated, these changes were indeed a result of the ongoing litigation. Everyone here at Pocket Pair was disappointed that this adjustment had to be made, and we fully understand that many players feel the same frustration. Unfortunately, as the alternative work would have led to an even greater deterioration of the gameplay experience for players, it was determined that this change was necessary. And honestly, just hearing this, I'm thinking Nintendo is happy that they are destroying a game that was successful by kneecapping it and making it inhibited to what it used to be, a shell of its former self, to make it not as good so that Nintendo's original Pokemon game can stand out and be like, look, you can do this stuff in our game. Those other games can't do that, so they're inferior to ours. Whereas I take a step back from all this and say, by Nintendo trying to copyright and trademark throwing a ball in a game, that will limit creativity for not just game companies in general, but think of all the indie developers out there that now need to take into account any kind of mechanic you ever do in any video game ever. And then worrying about getting a lawsuit thrown at you because the mechanic is just too similar to another game that exists out there in the mountain of millions upon millions of games that are already existing right now. Or at least it seems there's so many out there. Furthermore, we regret to inform our players that with the implementation of patch version 0.5.5, we must make yet another compromise. From this patch onward, gliding will be performed using a glider rather than with pals. Pals in the player's team will still provide passive buffs to gliding, but players will now need to have a glider in their inventory in order to glide. Which I gotta take a step back from that one and say, why is gliding not trademarked? Is that too generic? But throwing a ball isn't? You see what the problem is when you start doing stuff like this and litigating out what you can and cannot do in a game? Because yikes, if anything, I think this makes Nintendo look awful. But then again, Nintendo has been on a collision course with looking awful seemingly every day since the Switch 2 got announced, so no surprise there. We understand that this will be disappointing for many, just as it is for us, but we hope our fans understand that these changes are necessary in order to prevent further disruptions to the development of Palworld. We want to also extend our apologies to our fans for the discomfort and concern this ongoing litigation has caused. We remain committed to developing Palworld and delivering exciting new content to our fans. On behalf of everyone at Pocket Pair and Team Palworld, thank you again for your continued support. And that one really hits hard because you can see this developer finally found a hit on their hands and genuinely passionate about making it great for their player base. And here we have Big Corpo coming in saying, oh, popular indie game, looking a little too familiar to our game? Yeah, we gotta knock that down because we can't have someone else being more popular than us. Let's call this what it is. Nintendo is trying to kill Palworld before it can turn into something even bigger, which is saying something because many could argue it's already a massive phenomenon. And you could even say, pointing at this lawsuit, that it's actually brought more people into the world of finding out what it is, hearing the name all over the place. Probably like the Barbra Streisand effect, and I'm sure Nintendo didn't really count on that. Since its launch, Palworld has captured attention of fans worldwide for being what many called Pokemon with guns, a bold, chaotic alternative to the stale formula Nintendo had stuck to for decades. And I can speak to this because I was someone who played the original Red and Blue on the original Game Boy. I even have the link cable and played it with my buddy, and we had fun with it. And then I played the other versions of Pokemon that came after it. I was like, oh, it's cool, it's more of the same, but it's still whatever, it's fun. Then I played the ones on the Switch, and I'm just like, all right, the graphics are a little bit better, obviously. It's not like 8-bit or whatever, but it's still like the same game. It feels like there's no risk being taken, no chances being made here. It's just straight up basically rehashing a formula that people just go to buy every year like it's a Madden franchise. And I fell out of love with it at that point. I'm like, nope, the battles are too easy. The gameplay's boring. The gameplay loop itself is way too repetitive. It's just not for me. And clearly, Pocket Pair felt the same way. Oh, and rather than up their game and embrace the competition, Nintendo decides to choose to go nuclear with lawsuits with their ninjas. They filed lawsuit in Japan claiming that Palworld infringes on 3 of their patents. These same patents, mind you, that Pocket Pair is now challenging for being illegitimate, citing games like Craftopia and others that use similar mechanics long before Nintendo had locked them up themselves, which when you hear that, it's pretty curious, isn't it? Almost like Nintendo is trying to say, yeah, no one can sue us for stealing other people's stuff, but then we will sue other people for stealing our stuff that we stole from someone else. Nintendo logic. Nintendo's not fighting to protect Pokemon at all. Let's be real. They're fighting to eliminate threats, just like they've done with fan games, ROM hacks, and emulators for years. Now they're turning the same scorched earth playbook on commercial competitors. As much as I love Nintendo IPs and games that they've made over the years, this is a double-edged sword that threatens true organic growth and expansion in the entire video game industry. And it's something that I will definitely never get behind. Pocket Pair's latest statement was measured and extremely respectful, maybe even too respectful. They're apologizing to the fans, they spoke of compromise and concern, but make no mistake, this is a company under attack from all sides of Nintendo's ninjas. A creative team is being forced to gut the core features of their game just to continue to survive. And for what? Because Nintendo thinks they own the concept of throwing a ball to summon a creature, which I gotta be honest, when I hear that, no bro, that in itself is a bridge too far. The irony with all of this is Palworld's popularity didn't come from cloning Pokemon. It came from doing what Nintendo didn't have the guts to do. Ironically, evolve. Do anything different with Pokemon than the same old gameplay loop that every Pokemon game seems to have. They never added any challenge, no creativity, variety, or anything like that. Palworld might have taken inspiration, like every good game always does, but they built something edgy, new, and wildly successful. Something that, get this, gamers actually wanted to play and flocked to in massive numbers, and Nintendo only raised an eyebrow once it became popular. Think about that for a second. So now they're trying to sue Palworld into mediocrity, strip it of its fun, and dismantle its identity, ultimately discouraging any other indie studio in the future from ever trying anything similar again, which sounds like a really fun environment to try to make a game when you have to deal with these massive companies that will completely destroy you if you dare step out of line. That is not really the ideal environment for art and creativity, I'd argue. But here's the kicker with all of it. Despite the legal attacks, Pocket Pair is not backing down. They're still updating the game, still engaging with the community, and still pushing forward. And maybe that is what terrifies Nintendo the most. The fact that Palworld might survive this lawsuit, survive the sabotage, and maybe even emerge stronger than they ever had before going into it. And that might just be the silver lining in all of this. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article. I will link this in the description below. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
Mr. Kawamoto!
Hi.
Hello.
Smash JT. Smash JT. Smash JT.